A goal you told absolutely no one about quietly disappeared sometime in February, and nobody, including most days, you ever noticed it was gone. Let's fix that. A private goal is remarkably easy to abandon because nothing external holds it in place. There's no one to ask how it's going, no one who will notice if it stops, and no consequence beyond a private, forgettable disappointment. The goal exists entirely in your own head, which means it can quietly dissolve there too, without a single external signal that anything changed. This is worth sitting with for a moment. An abandoned private goal produces almost no evidence of its own failure. There's no conversation to have, no explanation required, no visible gap where the goal used to be. It simply stops, and life continues exactly as it did before, which is precisely what makes private goals so much easier to quietly walk away from than anything that involves another person watching, waiting, or expecting an update. The fix is making the goal public, telling someone specific, who will actually ask about it later, not just announcing it once into the void. The mechanism isn't magic or extra motivation. It's that quitting now has a real, external cost, an actual conversation where you have to explain what happened. And most people will go to real lengths to avoid that conversation. The key detail here is specificity. Announcing something broadly, to a group or on social media, doesn't reliably produce the same effect as telling one particular person who will actually follow up. A broad audience rarely circles back to ask how things went, but a specific person who cares and has agreed to check in creates a real appointment on the calendar. And it's that concrete, scheduled accountability, not the general feeling of having told people, that actually changes behavior. Someone who keeps a goal entirely private can quietly stop pursuing it at any point with zero friction. No one asks, nothing changes, the goal simply stops existing. Someone who's told a specific person, who checks in regularly, faces actual social cost for quitting, an uncomfortable update, a specific person's disappointment. And that cost alone is often enough to carry them through the exact moments where a private goal would have quietly ended. Consider the exact moment discipline usually breaks down: a hard week, low motivation, a bad day. In that moment, the private goal version has nothing external pulling them back toward the commitment, just their own fading resolve. The public commitment version has a scheduled check-in coming, and a specific person who will ask a direct question about progress, and that looming, concrete conversation is frequently the exact thing that gets them through the hardest part. Instead of quietly stopping, first, choose one specific person, not a broad audience, and make sure they'll actually follow up rather than just receiving the announcement passively. Second, set a specific check-in date in advance, so the accountability isn't left to chance. Third, be honest with that person when things slip, rather than avoiding the conversation. The discomfort of the update is the entire mechanism doing its job. On the second tip, put the check-in date directly on a shared calendar or send a scheduled reminder to both people, rather than leaving it as a vague, someday intention. An unscheduled check-in has a way of quietly never happening, which defeats the entire purpose. For the third tip, resist the urge to avoid the person when things haven't gone well. That avoidance is usually the first sign a private goal pattern is starting to creep back in. A private goal is easy to quietly drop, say it out loud, and quitting gets a lot harder. Next episode, The Novelty Trap: Why New Systems Feel Better Than Working Ones. Follow along so you don't miss it.